Morning drive 2020, baby. All right, so here's an interesting question. I was just talking with an agent about at the office, and it was, hey, I got a really cool new listing coming up. Should I stage it? And then the answer was depends, right? Because what are you competing with? And my analogy to this was, if you live in a town and you're the only girl in the town, you're going to be the most attractive girl in that town. Got it? If you have the only listing in the entire town, you're going to have the most attractive listing in the town. But if you're one of a whole bunch of listings in a specific street or town or marketplace, then you have to do something to stand out. And then it depends on who you're actually competing with. So if you're standing back and saying, okay, I've got a 4.3 on the water for 800 grand, then you have to say, okay, what else am I competing with right now? And there's 4 other houses. Then you got to go a little bit deeper into those houses and say, okay, let's look at the pictures, let me go see them, let's go preview them. Then how do you compare? Because if you're not prettier or better value than another house, then you need to do something with your price to make it more attractive. If you're competing on price and you're about in the same ballpark, you just have to up your game a little bit and become more attractive, that's when staging comes in. So the answer is depends, and it's a yes or no or a maybe. And it really depends on you and your ability to know supply and demand and the actual competitive forces that are against that one listing. Because remember, guys, there is no market, there is no real estate market. It is so hyper local. It's ridiculously hyper local. Like in my example, the only market that matters is what's from $800,000 to $900,000 on the water that has at least 4 bedrooms. That's the only market I care about. Whatever those search results are, that's what I need to go head to head against each one of those individual properties. And if staging will help, stage it. And if staging's irrelevant, don't stage it, save the money, right? And also it's not worth it because the sellers, all they care about is getting the property sold. And it doesn't matter, they don't care if it's staged or not, they want it sold. So if you think staging will get you a higher price and better service for your client based on your competition, stage it. And if not, don't. Simple answer. Follow-up question is, how do you stage it? Say, okay, I've looked at my competition. I really think staging will help because I really need to give this house the edge. How do you stage it? And the answer is, who's your buyer, right? That's going to be a big difference on how you actually stage it, because everything people buy with emotions and they justify with logic. So if you pretty much know what your buyer is going to be, if you're in an up and coming millennial marketplace, you know what's going to be attractive to that marketplace. If you're in a slower pace retirement town, your staging is completely different because you want to stage the emotions of the connection of how you're going to be living in that piece of property. What is your lifestyle? What is it going to actually do for them? Because everyone's buying that emotions. If it's a family neighborhood, stage it with some family friendly things. If it's a retirement community, do some leisure activity and make it that way, right? So that's really kind of so subjective, but it's so important because if you're repulsive to your target market, it's not going to work. If you're actually attractive, it's going to work. So you just have to sit back and think, who's my market? And if the answer is it's a broad market, I don't know, then go as neutral as possible and as pleasant and appealing as you possibly can. So that's the answer to that one.